want to be a change maker, it's super important that you're someone who's in integrity. You feel complete in yourself and you show up in your full self. You show up with radical honesty. So you own everything that you can own, and when you have that level of integrity around you, then you can actually gain the trust of the system that you're in, that you're trying to influence, to actually be a system changer. The second thing is that you need to have an ability to communicate, an ability to really have empathy for other people and meet them where they're at. And when you can have that kind of connection with them, then you're able to build trust, build coalitions, build a movement that will actually make change in the system. The third thing that a change maker really needs is that they need to have critical thinking. You know, the ability to see things from the system's perspective, to apply analytics, to see dynamics, and what are the subsystems within the major system that are all playing a role, and map together the interconnectedness of what's happening. So the critical ability to look at things and say, this is what's happening, this is what's not happening, this is where the leverage points are, that's super duper important as well. The greatest takeaway from Future Shapers and this event has just been the connection that we've been able to create with all the folks who are here. It's been a really powerful experience in going deep and uncovering the layers that typically when we're creating connections, we're just stuck at this layer. And I think with Future Shapers, we got to go deeper into some of these other aspects of ourselves and show up more vulnerably, more authentically.
Okay. Yep, I'm not on mute. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Hub of Innovation for Inclusion, or HiFi for short. I am Abby Mapua. I'm the director of HiFi and your host this morning. So today we're hosting Coffee Collabs. Yes, Coffee Collaborations is a small group gathering and conversation for individuals and teams that we support for the development of the work that they do, and more importantly, for their growth and soulful feeding as change makers. Yes, in the Coffee Collabs room right now are fellows and founders that we support through our different incubation programs. So we have the Future Shapers program, Homebrewed, and the Sandbox. But we are also very happy to open a good number of seats to our Benilde community today. So to join us and enrich this experience. So welcome everyone. I hope you're all okay. Thumbs up. All right. Good, good, good. To make sure that we have a very good experience this morning, if your internet bandwidth can accommodate, we encourage you to turn on your videos so we can see you and really connect with you. So again, Coffee Collabs uniquely is not a big event. So we really want to keep it small and conversational. So this is an opportunity for us to connect with each other, something that we're all missing because of all the physical distancing and the lockdown that we are experiencing. So this should be a good opportunity to connect. But we will also be muting you for a good amount of time when the talk begins and unmute when there is the open space for a conversation. Next, I'd like you to type in your name if you haven't done that yet. Type your name and family name so we can get to know you and identify you. If you want to put in your nickname, that's cool as well. Okay. Also, you will be needing a pen and paper. So please keep it handy beside you, your favorite journal and pen, keep it beside you. We will be needing it. Second to the last, if you do not mind, we will be recording this event, but to respect your privacy, we will stop recording during conversations and sharing to make sure that we safeguard everyone's privacy. Finally, this will not be called Coffee Collabs if we do not have a warm mug of coffee or your favorite drink with you beside you. So we would like to encourage everyone to grab your favorite drink as we connect with each other and we connect with ourselves this morning. I am super excited to bring a dear friend of mine to meet my Benilde and HiFi community. Our change maker to hold space with us today over coffee is Emily Teng. So you've all seen the poster, we've shared it with you. We were both fellows at the Unschool of Disruptive Design in San Francisco way back in 2017, I think. So Emily is one of the most vibrant and generous people I know. She is a former radio presenter and a media personality. She is the founder of award-winning and globally recognized community organization called Blessings in a Bag. So we shared the link to Blessings in the Bag in the chat. So if you want to know more, please access that. As a community, Blessings in the Bag journeys with underserved children and youth, whether that is through meeting their physical needs or through supporting them to become resilient and compassionate change agents in their own communities. In 2018, Facebook named Emily as one of the world's most inspiring leaders alongside 110 other mission-driven change makers. She also received the President's Award that same year for her decades-long journey of championing the community spirit in Singapore. Decades-long journey of championing change, and yet she's so young. That's Emily. So most recently, she was selected to represent Singapore as part of the United States Women in Leadership in ASEAN as part of the Young Southeast Asia Leadership Initiative by the State Department of the United States of America. In 2019, Emily relocated to San Francisco Bay Area, where she remotely leads her Singapore team, as well as embarking on her biggest passion, cheerleading. Cheerleading for community leaders to start their own change in their own communities and to discover their superpowers. Friends, if you allow me, can you please unmute yourselves right now? And I would like to invite you to warmly welcome Emily Teng with a great morning round of applause. If we could clap. Okay, thank you everyone. That was nice. That was nice to hear. Good morning, Emily. Welcome to HiFi.
Good morning. It's so lovely to see everybody's faces today. I know it's like bright and early where you are. And like Abby said, yeah, she's one of my dear friends. And so it just feels like coming home in a way. And I love the Philippines. I've been a couple of times to Legazpi, Manila, and I'm really missing my pandesal and but pandesal is my favorite thing ever, and I was craving it just the other day. So thank you so much for having me. I will go ahead and share my screen.
Yes.
So let us hopefully not have any tech issues. Okay.
No, we're good. Take it on.
All right. Can everyone see my screen? I love Canva. So if you know me, I'm obsessed with Canva. Okay, so like Miss Abby said at the top of the call, if you don't have a pen, pencil, or notebook or paper, you can go and run and grab one, because it's really great to just jot down notes and have inspiration, like anything, insights, learnings, just the thoughts that go through your mind. It's really important to note it down. And yeah, favorite beverage of choice, and just being your true, authentic self. So today it's all about self-care and well, stress. Oh, sorry, there's something on my screen popping up. Okay, it's all about circuit breaking stress and creating rituals of self-care. And this is a really important note before we begin, because we're going to be talking about, you know, mental and emotional well-being. And I just want to be clear that I am not a therapist, I'm not a medical practitioner, and this isn't to replace any medical interventions that you're currently on. This is also not to replace any time with a therapist or a counselor or a practitioner. And I believe one of the shapers was mentalhealthph.org. So if you are needing some extra support and, you know, needing a listening ear beyond this call, then I would highly recommend and encourage you to jump on that website. So definitely need to add that caveat before we begin. I'm not going to go through Zoom 101 because I feel like you're all quite tech savvy compared to me. Feeling quite old, even though Abby said that I'm still young. Just seeing so many young people on my screen is just so encouraging and just so hopeful for the future that we have ahead of us. So what you'll hopefully leave this session with is you'll get an energy map of your day. You're going to be able to identify where your energy busters and stressful moments are. We will co-create your morning and evening ritual together. We will learn about the pillars of self-care, creating your own self-care toolbox. We will get to identify when you recently experienced heartfelt well-being, which is something I'm very excited to share and talk about. And resources will be emailed to you right after this time that we have together. I'll send everything that I have on screen to Abby and her team, and hopefully a possible new connection and friendship, because I know that it's not all future shapers on this call. It's also people who are part of the network of HiFi. So I am Emily Teng, and I'm not going to go into the whole spiel because I think Abby totally just hit the ball out of the park with all of the credentials. But yeah, I started Blessings in a Bag, which is an award-winning and globally recognized nonprofit, when I was a teenager. And it's something that I'm very passionate about to this day, which is this ethos or mantra of do what you can with what you have where you are. Because, you know, when I was 20, all I had was a Logitech camera, webcam, a YouTube video, and that's how I started. I'm now in my 13th year. So yeah, so that's really my journey began there. As you can see here, this was me in 2018 with Singapore's president and with Sheryl Sandberg at Facebook here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I am currently, as Abby shared, in the San Francisco Bay Area, so remote leading is definitely a challenge, though I think the whole world is working from home and navigating the whole remote world, so I definitely don't feel as alone. So apart from my nonprofit or work with Blessings in a Bag, it really is my passion and my pleasure to help people to start where they are, to help people to own their superpowers and to use that to change the world. And that's really what I've been doing on the side of all the things that Blessings in a Bag is really supporting and playing cheerleader, which is something that brings me much excitement, to community leaders, mission-led entrepreneurs, and people who are searching for a deeper meaning and purpose in life. I also want to say that if you think that I'm speaking too quickly, because I get excited and I tend to speak very fast, you can drop it in the chat. If you need me to slow down, that's okay too. So a personal reason of why I'm so passionate about circuit breaking stress and creating rituals for self-care is because I've been there. I've been there very many times. I know Abby and maybe those who are considered the veterans in the field, we've gone through burnout, we've gone through, you know, we've gone through the ringer. And so there was a time in 2013, I was working out with a friend and I just collapsed at the gym in a public place. And I ended up in hospital for about a week and a half. And that was probably when I said, you know, I'm not going to do this to my body anymore, because all of my organs were not really functioning so well. And I currently have a chronic illness called fibromyalgia, which is basically pain that I feel all the time. And so when I am not, you know, taking care of my self-care, my needs, my boundaries, my bandwidth, my chronic illness gets really out of control. Apart from that, I am a huge advocate for mental well-being. I know that it's not something that's talked a lot compared to our Western counterparts. I know here in the Bay Area, everybody talks about it, but in Asia, it could be a cultural taboo. And I currently am on anti-anxiety medication. So I definitely want to normalize the fact that you can be successful, but you also need to be, you know, aware of what you need and the support that you need. And I also have a therapist, so very important. Yeah. So here are some just community guidelines and safe space setting, because we're going to be talking about things that might be very personal to us. Some people might be sharing something for the first time. So these 3 things are key in these sessions. So just being present, try to close down your 20 million tabs, listen with an open heart. The second one is respect timing. So we will be giving guided about, you know, how much time you have for each activity or breakout room. So please respect the timing so that everybody has the opportunity to share. And the last one is to lean into the brave space. So allowing yourself to step outside your comfort zone and to really treat what's being shared with confidentiality. So whatever is being shared here in the breakout, I know that we're not going to be pressing record during the times that we're sharing as a group. Just be mindful of how you share it and how respectful you are to each other. And if you do want to talk about this experience on social media, make sure you do not attribute it to a specific person. So don't go on social media and say, Emily said that she's on medication for her anti-anxiety, which I'm okay with, but just for everybody else, they might not be okay. So yeah, just want to add that as a caveat. So here's our first breakout, because there's so many amazing faces that I'm seeing on my screen right now. So we're going to get into our breakout, and here's how it's going to work. You're going to have a minute each to share about yourself, because you might not have met before. What's your name? How do you show up in the world? So how do you show up in the world? You can interpret it however you want, whether you want to talk about what you do for a living, or, you know, what values you lead life by, or what gets you up from bed every morning, and maybe share the best thing that happened to you this week or in the last couple of days. So I'm going to let LA coordinate the breakout rooms, and we're going to go into groups of 4, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Does anyone have any questions before we go in? We can see you on chat if you have any questions or any feedback or anything you want to say. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to get present. So if you would like, you can switch off your camera, switch off your video for a second. So I'm going to do that as well. You can move to another corner of the room. You can sit comfortably in the chair or lay down. Just get cozy. And we're just going to get present for about a minute or 2 before we get started. So just invite you to close your eyes if you're feeling comfortable to do so, and to stare at something that is not the screen. So notice any senses you might be feeling in this moment. Just allow yourself to breathe. Notice any thoughts that might be coming to your mind. Without any judgment, just allow those thoughts to float by. And noticing the emotions or how you may be feeling in this moment. Just notice and name that emotion. And don't try to fix it or solve it or try to do anything with it. Just allow it to come, name the emotion, and allow it to pass you by. And taking time to just pause and check in with how you're breathing right now. Are you breathing fast and shallow breaths? Are you able to breathe deeply to the fullness of your lungs? You find a way to breathe in deep and softly, inhaling through your nose and exhaling from your mouth. And inhaling through the nose again, filling up your lungs as much as they can go, and release. Exhale through your mouth. Noticing your body, bringing attention to any tension that you might be feeling onto right now. Is there tension between your brows? Are you clenching your jaws? Let it all relax and soften. Allow your cheeks to feel full and heavy, and feeling your waist and your legs. Notice how strong they are to keep you grounded, your legs to keep you upright. Thank them for keeping you up and moving even while at home. And thanking your body for just being this vessel that you are a steward to. And so a deep breath as you imagine you're inhaling from the bottom of your feet all the way to the top of your head, and exhale through your mouth. And as you inhale again through your nose, exhale, releasing any tension, any negative thoughts or emotions. And moving your thoughts and your focus to your heart. What is it trying to tell you right now? What dreams has your heart shared with you before? What ideas are brewing? And what is most important to you in life right now? What do you want to focus on? What do you need to take off your plate so you can just breathe in relief? What do you need to set boundaries around? So spending the next few moments thinking about your mind, your heart, and your body, and answering the question, what needs taking care of? What needs TLC right now? Just allow yourself to sit with these thoughts and allow your heart to speak to you loud and clear now that you've taken some time to pause and truly listen to what you need, what your heart needs. And breathing in through your nose again and exhale through your mouth. And one more time, breathing in through your nose and exhale. And when you're ready, just gently returning to this space, opening your eyes. You can return to the present moment. And as you return, I'd like to invite you to enter into the chat box how you are feeling right now. Just one word. Enter that into the chat box. How are you feeling right now? Nolly, you say you're relaxed. Marco, calm. Z, content. Nikki, I'm not sure. That's a good answer. And that's okay not to be sure of how you might be feeling right now. George, confused. Ramon, present, or Ramon, sorry. Scared. Christella, seated, if that makes sense. Nervous. I love how everybody has different emotions right now. So I invite you to just keep on sharing that in the chat and, you know, responding to each other in the chat as we keep moving ahead, because I am mindful for time. So let me just move this to the top because I see everybody's heads there. Yeah. You cannot and will not be successful in achieving your mission unless you are intentional about your own well-being. And the word successful is very subjective. So it could be success in your business or success in your life, success on your own terms. You can't be successful in anything if you're not intentional about your own well-being. In other words, you do not need to hustle in order to be successful. So really important to remind yourself of that. I would like to invite you to type into the chat box what comes to mind when you think of the word stress, and how would you define stress? Trying to see that. Nolly, I can feel my feet. I love that. Isel, don't know what to say, a lot to feel. Yeah, it's good. Nina, avoid school deadlines. That's what you think of when you think of the word stress. Marco, I remember college, negative emotions. Yeah. Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer, by the way. I should add that. There's no right or wrong answer about how you perceive the word stress to be, overwhelming. Yeah, like at the government, out of rhythm. Stress manifests because of worry or being stuck in the past, having no plan and no time to make one. Yeah, these are super good. Thank you so much for sharing in the group chat, everybody. And you can keep on typing in the chat box, how has stress impacted you? And have you experienced any of these that you see on the screen? Because stress is not just, you know, in your mind, it can actually manifest outwardly through your emotions, through even the words you speak. I know I tend to be very snippy to my husband when stress is entering my body. It you know, verbally manifests externally. Has anybody on this group experienced any of these things, like physical manifestations of stress? I do want to add, like, stress is also that fight or flight mode where you're constantly feeling like, you know, stressed out and scared. I also call it analysis paralysis, where you're so stressed out where you can't make clear decisions. Has anyone had analysis paralysis? Even deciding something becomes a huge ordeal. So yeah, keep sharing in the group chat. I'm seeing that. Yes, I get snippy. I hate it. Blank state. Yeah. And over time, what stress does to the body, without getting too scientific about it, because, you know, there's definitely a lot of studies out there that you can dive into in the research. There's also a lot of, I'm just reading that. Yeah, a lot of information out there that shows long-term what stress can do to your body, where you know, long-term, there's chronic stress. Like, I have a chronic illness because I had so much chronic stress for many years of my life. And now I have, you know, I'm experiencing what happens with that. Bursting out, Denise, having so many things to do, but not wanting to do any of them. Yeah. So the external manifestations of stress are really insightful. They tell us a lot about what's going in our mind and what's going on mentally and emotionally. So if you're able to, you know, notice and name sort of the external manifestations, they're warning signs to our body. There are red flags of something that's not quite right or something that's out of balance. We might be, you know, taking on too much at the current state. So yeah, I like to share this. So we're going to get into our first activity, which is energy mapping our day. We will be sending this to you via email, but you can see on the screen on the right-hand side, there is a schedule there. And what we're going to be doing is inviting you with your pen and paper for the next 5 minutes to think about your days in the week, and let's break it down together. What time do you wake up each day? These are some questions that you can ask yourself. What do you do when you get up? what happens during the day? Do you notice when your energy slumps, or when are you energized during the day? Are you more a night person? Are you more a morning person? What time do you go to bed each day, and what do you do before bedtime? So these are just some helpful prompts to get you started. So LA is going to play some reflective music as we do this activity. And in terms of, you know, picking a day, you can choose any day. It's just an average day that comes to mind. And just, you could even use yesterday as an example of what did you do yesterday? Did you get up at 6 a.m.? Did you go to bed at 7 p.m.? So just energy map your day. And yeah, you will be given 5 minutes to go through that, and LA is going to just play some music. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to put it in the chat and I will respond there. Okay, just wrapping up now. Just scribbling your last thoughts on that. I know a few of you, Marco and Nolly, you've already been noticing things and learning new insights just from mapping out your day. We're going to go into our breakout because I love harnessing collective wisdom. I'm not sure if I mentioned at the start, but one of the reasons why I agreed to be sharing with you today is also because I share a value with Miss Abby, which is that it's not up to the world's experts. And it's not enough for the world's experts or for leaders like myself who are more established to solve the world's problems. It really is going to require collective effort. It's going to require everybody. And that's why I believe wholeheartedly that everybody has wisdom to share to each other. And that's why we're going to go to our first breakout or second breakout to answer the questions. What do you notice from what you just did? I got some chats coming in here. Just noticed that breakfast isn't even on my list. Yeah. So we're going to go into our second breakout. Oop. And these are the questions, so note them down on a piece of paper so you won't forget them, and so that you will have time to really connect with your teammates. And if I could ask that you practice active listening, which means we don't pass judgment, we don't try and fix another person's challenges or situation. We really just appreciate them for sharing and to honor them, and just to mirror what they're sharing as opposed to telling them what they should be doing. So if there's no other questions, LA is ready to go into breakout room 2. You'll see it on your screen.
Okay, opening breakout rooms.
Yep, should be 8 to 10 minutes, so there'll be enough time for everybody. Welcome back. I think some people are coming back already. So what did you appreciate or learn or get insights on? If you can put that in the chat box. And if you want to share verbally, we'll invite a few of you as well to do that. Welcome back. I'm seeing more faces joining. I love that everybody's got, well, most people got their video on, so it's nice to see some human faces on the other end. So what did you appreciate or learn or get insights on? You can share in the chat box. If you want to share verbally, you can wave, or you can type in the chat box that you're keen to share, because I'm trying to see everybody's screen at the same time. Okay, thank you. We're gonna move on to some tips. Yeah. So if you have note paper and pen, here are some like 3 tips that I wanted to share with you when you're thinking about energy mapping, because you can revisit what you worked on again, because you're going to get the PDF after. So the first one is to keep a running list of what you get excited by, like what energizes you, who are the people that energize you. But what's really important as well, other than what makes you excited, is what drains you. Who do you notice that when you're around this person or when you're around this environment just really makes you feel like, ugh, draining, and you feel tired and you feel resistant to do the work? So the first tip is to keep a running list of what you're excited by, and you can kind of track that. The second one is to see if you can make clear boundaries around what drain you. So from your first tip, like if you know what drains you, you know what makes you resistant, or you know what kind of makes you overwhelmed or stressed out, see if you can make clear boundaries around that. So for example, can you outsource something where possible, or can you limit how much time you do it? For example, for me, I try not to touch, the bookkeeping, admin, financial aspect of my nonprofit every day. I try to do it like one day of that week so that I'm not drained every single day doing numbers that I really hate doing. You can also find ways to make it more enjoyable. Something that I've been doing because of the coronavirus pandemic is I do co-working virtual calls. So I will literally sit in a group like this and we'll have our screen on and we'll share, you know, we do Pomodoros. So for 25 minutes, we'll set our intention, you know. So I'll say my intention for the next 25 minutes is I'm going to do my taxes. And then we set the timer, everybody mutes themselves. We go on for 25 minutes, we come back and we share, you know, do we get it done? And we go for our second Pomodoro and we share our next intention. And that way it's sort of like you're being held accountable for the things that drain you, because more often than not, they tend to be what's on your to-do list that is carried over week after week after week. So sometimes you need to be held in loving accountability with your friends. And that's really easy for you to set up from home. And then the third one is minimizing the draining activities by mapping out your time. So based on your energy map, you can figure out, you know, ways to be more efficient, ways to be more intentional, and to spend your time more wisely. So based on your energy map, you can also see, say, for example, for me, I tend to be most creative or in my flow state from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. at night. Whereas my husband or some of my friends, they tend to be in their flow state from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then they sort of have a buzzkill all the way down. So just mapping out, you know, when you are energized, then you can protect that time for creative work or work that really moves the needle, or work that really, you know, makes an impact in your everyday. And then everything else you can kind of put in fill in the blanks. So does anyone have any questions or anything? I can't see the chat box, so, but if not, we will move on to our first break. So I don't like being on the screen for too long. So this is actually just an excuse for 2 minutes, you can go grab a glass of water, you can get up and go use the bathroom, because I don't like staring at the screen for so long. Of course, if you want to hang out with me and have a chat, I'm also here for the next 2 minutes. So it is completely up to you how you want to spend the next 2 minutes, but you can go. Yeah. Okay, hope we're all refreshed. I like to have some movement in there where possible. So, ooh, my screen keeps moving around. Thanks so much for all of the links, by the way. I'm going to check them out after this. How to pronounce GIF, how to pronounce meme, or is it meme? I don't know what it is. And I'll definitely look out for that song. Thank you, Ariel. Okay, we're going to jump into a video. If you have any issues like viewing it or hearing it, please put it in the chat and LA will let me know. Okay.
Great culture, no matter where we are, no matter how big the organization, is not about intensity, it's about consistency. You can't get into shape by going to the gym for 9 hours. It won't work. But if you work out every single day for 20 minutes, you will absolutely get into shape, right? Intensity is like going to the dentist. It's fixed in time. We know exactly what date we're going. We know how long we're going to be there. And we know that when we come out, our teeth will feel smooth and look pearly. But if that's all we do, all our teeth will fall out. In other words, intensity is not enough. So we're also supposed to brush our teeth twice a day for 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening. What does brushing your teeth do for 2 minutes? Nothing. It does absolutely nothing unless you do it every single day. Can you leave out a day? Sure. How many days can you leave out? I don't really know. How many times do you have to brush your teeth before it works? I don't know that either. And this is why companies don't do it. Because we like intensity. We like things that are fixed in time and easily measured. We want to make leaders. What do? We have a company offsite. We invite a whole bunch of speakers. Everybody gives the event an 8.5. Leaders. No. No. We like intensity. How do we fix broken companies? Reorg. New management. Aha. We can see the results. Layoffs. We love it. Look at the savings. Yeah, in the short term. We love intensity for the simple reason that it's easy to measure and we can calculate the day, we can calculate the time, highly predictable. But it's consistency that is the human part. You know, what does it take to fall in love? Buy her flowers, remember her birthday. Important, but if that's all you do, it won't work. It's the little things. Like when you wake up in the morning, you say good morning to her before you check your phone. When you get up To get yourself a drink, you bring one back without asking if they even wanted one. Any one of those things does nothing. It's the accumulation of all of those things done over the course of time repeatedly that one day someone will wake up and go, oh my God, I love you. It's the exact same thing in a company, which is we do these things repeatedly, which is instead of waiting for Charlie to show up at the meeting who's running a few minutes late and we're all just on our phones waiting for Charlie. He's just running. Is he here? Just a few more minutes? Okay. Oh, Charlie's here. Good. Let's start the meeting. Instead, we should have no phones in conference rooms ever, because you know what happens? We sit in the room and we talk. We go, I heard your mum's in the hospital. Oh, yeah, thanks. No, she's much better. Thanks for asking. Yeah, yeah. And that's called building relationships. What does it do? Nothing. It does nothing. But if you do it on a regular basis over the course of time, what ends up happening is you discover that you trust your colleagues, that you love your boss, that you believe to the core of your being that if something is wrong, that they will be there for you. And what starts to happen is you start to be willing to be vulnerable. Vulnerable doesn't mean walking around crying. That's not what it means. What vulnerable means is I'm willing to raise my hand and say, I made a mistake. I'm not qualified for the job that you gave me. I don't know what I'm doing. Without any fear that by revealing those things will you be humiliated or fired. And here's the joke. It's good for business.
Okay. How do you know who Simon Sinek is? I love him. I recommend his books. If you haven't checked it out, it's called Start With Why. I love that, Nolly, you've been texting in the chat saying this, intentionality. I saw a lot of laughing faces at some points through the video. The reason why I share it is not because, I know it's very business skewed, business related, but I also think it can be applied to our everyday life about intensity versus consistency. And that's kind of what I really believe in, creating your dream morning or dream evening. And it's not something that's fluffy, but it's just something to bookend your days with self-love and self-care. Because if you go every day, and you sacrifice yourself, you sacrifice your well-being, there's going to be a point where there is no you left to give. And so you need to be very intentional, like Nolly was talking about, and you got to be very consistent about making sure that you bookend your days with self-love. They don't need to be grand acts of self-care. So this is your time where you can create what you would like to have when you wake up. How do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? What do you what do you have to do to support the way that you want to lead your mornings? And the reason why I'm such a big believer in this is I do this now because I made so many mistakes before when I was much younger. And that is why, no matter what happens during my day, when work starts at 8 or 9 a.m. and all the way till 6 p.m., it can be hell. It can be brutal. Navigating crisis, navigating challenge, navigating so much conflict with your teams or your coworkers or your peers. It can be brutal out there, especially during a pandemic and especially when we're all isolated at home. And so making sure you have something to start the day with and end the day with is going to be super impactful in the long term. So what you're going to be doing is we're going to have about 2 minutes just to map out, just very quick. You can doodle it like an example, or you can create it, jot it down on the right-hand side of the screen. And there are some prompts on the left-hand side to help you with it. So LA, if you could set the timer, and I'm gonna play some music so that, okay, time is up. Thank you, LA, for being our official timekeeper. How is that, everybody? You can put it in the chat. We're gonna go ahead and watch another video because I just love mixing up all of my media. Let me know in the chat, or let LA know if you can't hear it. So let's do this.
So in 2007, it was 2 years into my building the Huffington Post. I had 2 teenage daughters. I was divorced.
Whoops.
So in 2007, it was 2 years into my building the Huffington Post. I had 2 teenage daughters. I was divorced. And I really came to believe that the only way I could juggle everything and make my life work was by ignoring my own needs, by foregoing sleep, by not giving myself time to recharge. And as a result, there I was one April morning. I got up from my desk to put on a sweater because I was feeling cold, and I collapsed. I hit my head on my desk, and I came to in a pool of blood with a broken cheekbone and a big slash in my eye. It was a really painful wake-up call that got me to the realization that not just me, but tens of millions of people around the world are living with a collective delusion that in order to succeed, we have to burn out. And as entrepreneurs, the most important thing that determines the success or failure of what we're doing is the quality of our decision making. In fact, there's clearly a connection between our cognitive performance, our decision making, and how fully recharged we are. And the key here is sleep. Building the
Okay, so Ariana Huffington, very similar story that I share with her, unfortunately. Let me see. Oh, my screen's frozen. Can you see that? Yeah. So I'm a huge believer in sleep hygiene, and we're going to create our evening routine or evening dream evening. So yeah, if you're a visual person like me, you can map it out like Blessings Manifesting, the illustrator, has done. How do you want to feel at the end of each day? What can you do to support a better night of sleep, rest, and restoration? So brainstorm all the things you'd like to create just for you in the evenings, and you can create it in time blocks as well. So how do you want to feel? Like, what activities do you want to do? Do you want to be going to sleep at midnight? As somebody was sharing earlier, I think it was Marco. Do you want to be going to bed every night at midnight? So, okay, that's time. It's okay if you haven't fully mapped it out, because you'll have plenty of time on the weekend to think about it and reflect, and maybe you'll connect with people that you've met on this call to share about it. I like to go by the ABC plan, especially when it comes to creating your rituals for self-care. So plan A is basically what you just created, because I'm pretty sure that was very ambitious. You're going to be lighting a candle. You're going to be doing yoga for 30 minutes. You're going to wake up at 6 a.m. every day. It's going to be full on morning amazingness of self-love. So that's plan A, where you're in flow. You've got an hour and a half to 2 hours of your time, and you've got the time to go through everything on your list. Plan B is the next best thing. This is probably what's going to happen for most of you, where you only have 30 minutes to an hour each day. And that's where you have to prioritize the most important and meaningful things on your plan A plan, and just try to rework the timing for each item. So maybe it's not yoga for an hour, it's yoga for 15 minutes or stretching. And then plan C will very likely happen for the days when we go back to working in the office and we have to deal with traffic and we have to deal with commuting, where you only have 5 to 15 minutes. It's a quick win. You're late for work, you're running out the door, you haven't had breakfast. So prioritizing what's important to you and reworking the timing for these items to be quick and easy wins for you to manage, to still be able to have that self-love, but it's not going to be an hour and a half or 2 hours of glorious self-care that you just envisioned for yourself. And same with the evenings. You know, some days you might not get to bed until 11:30, but there should still be something that you can do for yourself for 5 minutes, 15 minutes at the most. So what I'm going to have you do for the next, I wouldn't say 5 minutes, because I think you can probably do it in 3 minutes. We'll do 3 minutes where you break down your plan A, what you just mapped out from your morning and your evening, into plan B and plan C. So what if you only had 30 minutes? Or what if you only had 5 minutes and you were late to work? What are you going to be doing? And then when you're ready, put it in the chat box what you will realistically be implementing next week. Will you be going for plan A? Will you be going for plan B? Or will you be going for plan C? So LA is going to start the timer for 3 minutes. Okay, just type in the chat box, which plan will you realistically be implementing next week or tomorrow even? Will it be plan A, plan B, or plan C? I'd love to know what people will be realistically doing. Plan B, Kim, very quick. Yeah, plan B. What if some parts of your routine are affected by external factors? Yeah, you're never going to have a perfect, every day you're going to be able to nail it on the head. But just knowing that you have something to wake up to or go to bed with is going to be key and super helpful. But maybe, Eru, if you can elaborate by some routines affected by external factors, that'll be like, do you mean like if you can make it to a gym class or if you don't have to worry about traffic? I think the thing to think about is how you can be flexible in each of these plans. So yeah. Ooh, some people, plan A, super ambitious, love it. Plan B, cool. We're gonna be taking a break for 2 minutes because we've been sitting for a while. I'm happy to be on here for the next 2 minutes as well to just chat with anybody who wants to stay here. But LA, you're gonna set the timer for 2 minutes now. So grab a drink, you can go to the restroom, stretch, dance around if you need to. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna move on to self-care. I know I'm mindful of our time. We've got a hard stop according to the HiFi team. So if you wanna share what you think or what comes to mind when you see the word self-care, you can add that into the chat box as we go. For me, definitely self-care is essential now and always, not just in the middle of a global pandemic, not just in the middle of a crisis or when crisis happens, it is essential. And it will very likely not be the bubble baths and the glamorous and the fuzzy things that you think self-care is. Sometimes self-care is super hard work and super unglamorous, and it would take a lot from you internally to make it happen. For example, saying no to a project, or switching off the television so that you can read a book, a personal development book. Maybe it's setting a timer so that you can go to bed at 10 p.m. instead of midnight, and not be on your phone scrolling through Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. I don't know if Snapchat is still alive still, but yeah, so for me, self-care is definitely essential, and there are different ways that you can incorporate that. Marco, a luxury very few can afford. Do you want to elaborate a little bit about that in the chat box? I'd love to hear more of that perspective. So here are the 6 pillars of self-care. So you've got the physical, you've got the emotional, mental, personal, professional, and spiritual. So physical can be, an access to having a safe space. Most of you are sharing that you're from home and you're trying to find that private space. So it's really important that you have safe space, access to nourishing food, sleep and rest, taking time off, activities to restore your body. Emotional is, notice and name, things that we did at the top of the call, allowing yourself to just slow down and pause and recognize what your emotions are. Mental is just reflection, journaling, therapy, counseling, things like that. Personal, so self-awareness, learning more about who you are, strengths, goal setting, hopes, aspirations, vision boarding, and definitely want to underscore friends and family. I know in the change maker or social impact world, we tend to think that our social enterprise or our business or the work that we do is number one, which it is to a certain extent. It is sort of like a baby, an extension to ourselves. But I think the number one regret I hear a lot from people in the change making space is that they regret not spending time with their friends and family and really missing out on very meaningful and memorable moments. Professional is boundary setting, so mentorship, getting yourself a coach, making sure you surround yourself in good company or community. Spiritual is, faith, if you have one, mindfulness, gratitude practice. Being creative is super important, immersing yourself in nature, finding ways to be inspired. Playing with purpose is something that I've been doing this year since I moved to San Francisco only last year. So I'm really allowing myself time to play with purpose and to show up and serve. So we're going to create a self-care toolbox. It's super quick. And this is something that I've done. And I even have it next to me in my journal. So this is how I journal. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I journal a lot. And that is one of the things that I do. So based on the 6 pillars of self-care, your physical, emotional, mental, personal, professional, and spiritual, I'd like to invite you to spend 2 minutes, just really quick, to visually journal or jot down, what is it that you know you can turn to in times of crisis or when things are really challenging. So I'm gonna give you 2 minutes on the clock, and starting music now. Okay, keep up the conversation. Time's up. I'm just following the chat here. So I really appreciate the diversity of perspectives that are being shared. I love it. So keep it coming. We're not going to be sharing in breakout groups like what came up for you in your self-care toolbox. I think it's very personal and it will really be something that you can have. What I would encourage you to do is to put it in a place where you can easily access it. For me, I also have like Post-it notes around my workplace so that when I am feeling super stressed out or, I know I need a timeout, even if it's just a minute, then I can look at my visual map and say, what can I do? Is it going to the freezer and getting an ice cream? Or is it going out for a walk with the dogs for 5 minutes? So it's kind of what I do, and I would recommend it as well. So according to Barbara Fredrickson, who is a positive psychology guru, she says that these emotions are key to experiencing and building upon your own well-being. So you're not going to be experiencing these every day, but if you can experience these over an amount of time, you can nurture and build well-being into your life. So serenity, interest, hope, love, awe, pride, inspiration, gratitude, joy, and amusement. So honestly, I don't know if you can experience those full range in one day, but if you can find ways to incorporate that in a consistent way, you're on your way to nurturing well-being. And she also coined this word called heart well-being, which I so love. And you can see my journal on the right. I made my own journal entry 26th of June because I was definitely feeling quite stressed out and overwhelmed it's the height of the pandemic here in the USA. So heart well-being moment, if I can explain it very simply without going into the science of it all, is, when you're driving home or when you're riding a bike or you're walking around the street and you notice a rainbow in the sky, and you take time and you just say, oh my gosh, that's such a beautiful rainbow. That's so amazing. And you just stand there in awe and inspired of how small you might feel, but how there's a rainbow, how awesome. But when you look around, there are so many people who don't see that rainbow. There's so many people who don't notice it. They don't notice their surroundings. You just experience a heart well-being moment because you stopped and you were able to get present with just something that awed you, inspired you, evoked curiosity, evoked love, gave you, goosebumps, just something that made you feel positive in some way. So I know it might be challenging right now if you're feeling quite stressed out or you're in crisis. Just think about a recent moment where you experienced a heart well-being moment. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes to draw it, like literally draw it like I did on the screen here. Even if you're a horrible drawer like I am, like look at my picture, it's just terrible. So even if that's supposed to be a dog at the bottom, by the way. So even if you're a terrible drawer, it's okay. So 2 minutes to draw your heart well-being moment, and we'll come back and share it with each other. Okay, time's up. How was everybody's experience with a heart well-being moment? Was it very easy to think about a recent moment where you had experienced it? If you're able to, you can share it in the chat box. I know not everybody is on video, so that's okay. If you want to just share it in the chat box, that'll be so great, so we can all appreciate each other's heart well-being moments. I know for me, today's heart well-being moment is very similar to this one that you see on screen, which when I took out the dogs, and I just stood in awe of birds in the trees singing. It's just so amazing, just hearing them sing in the sunshine. Nikki, easy to think about, but difficult to draw. Yeah, I know, but it's all good. Yeah. I know we are running short of time, so I'd like to invite if you are comfortable to share on chat box or verbally, you know, what is the insight, wisdom, what is the emotion that you will take away from this time together? What inspired action will you take? You can unmute yourself, and or you can put it in the chat box because there's a hard stop at 12:30. So keep the chat going. I'm still reading it, but I'm just going to keep moving along. I will be sending all of the PDFs and the worksheets, the keynotes and takeaways to the HiFi team as promised. And I know that the HiFi team is also, they're going to be sending materials to you as well. These are some prompts that I'll also be sharing because I love journaling, and I find like when I'm kind of stuck with what to journal about, these are really helpful. So have I said yes to too many things? Have I taken on too much? What areas can I make a -1 on? So, you know, out of the 20 things or the 10 things that are on your plate this week, what can you take one thing out? What can be scaled back? To review and reflect on boundaries. Have I been honoring my personal capacity and boundaries? What season am I in? Sometimes, you know, in business or in your journey, that there's going to be very hectic seasons where things are just going to be, you know, all consuming and time consuming anyway. So just noticing and being realistic about what season you're in is really powerful. And yeah, so lots of prompts there that you'll get to dive into and get juicy with in your journal. I'll also be emailing you this template of your dream week. I am a nerd for analyzing patterns, and also I'm a self-development, or what did you call it? Personal development, self-growth junkie, if that's a term. So what I actually did was I created this Excel spreadsheet, which I will share with you guys, and I tracked my hours every single day for 1.5 weeks to 2 weeks. And if you don't know how to do it on the Google Sheet, you can also track it on your time. I'll also send an app that you can do it. You just press the timer and then you end it. So I would literally say, you know, I wake up at 7 a.m. and then I would do what? Would I go to the bathroom? How long would the bathroom take? And all of that kind of stuff. So you're literally tracking how long it takes to do food, your lunch, how much time you're spending on Netflix, how much time you're spending on TikTok, just tracking all of that. And over time, you will see some patterns and you'll gain some really interesting insights from that. If you thought the energy mapping was quite intense, this one is on a whole other level. But from this, and I shared this with Miss Abby, is from the patterns that I discovered, I then figured out, you know, what are the days that I'm feeling most drained and why? Who were the people that I was talking to that day? What were the projects that I was working on that really drained me? And then the second thing was I created my own dream week. So before COVID, before all of this screen time, I would actually do Tuesdays and Thursdays for Zoom calls and virtual calls and phone calls. Every other day was a no call, no virtual day. And I would focus it on work. And then I would have different days, like Monday would be when I do my nonprofit work, just catching up. Fridays, Finance Friday. So all the finance stuff is relegated. So I really do encourage you, if you love you know, growing in your self-awareness, this is another way to explore. I'd invite you to stay connected with me. I love hanging out in my DMs on Instagram. I'm a little bit too old for TikTok. I'll just say that. I haven't got on it just yet. But yeah, you can also check out my website, emilyteng.com. And I also have a newsletter that I send. It's just love in your inbox, and all of the things that I'm working on behind the scenes and how I'm playing with purpose this year. So I do want to invite you now, this is the very last slide, very last time we're going to have right now, is what did you appreciate most about this time together? And if you could, it would be amazing for you to unmute yourself to share feedback, share what you thought about it, because I know the HiFi team, as well as we really value feedback. You can also put it in the chat box as well. So would super encourage you to do that. I'm going to stop sharing so that we can see everybody. Does anyone want to unmute themselves?